think they can. I think they can according to these magical levels, which we're wrong about the music, but are hopefully right about you. So, how have you been doing? Have you been watching these matches so far?
I watched my friend Unholy get wrecked like a noob. That I definitely watched. But
Yeah, that was it. That was pretty interesting. I think he kind of like fell behind it, fortunately. Just wasn't able to stand up on this map, really, in particular, is where it stood out here on Blood Run.
it looks like they can't hear me.
All right, well.
Oh, wait, no. Somebody said yes. Another person said no.
I see you on the levels, so either I'm going to sound like a crazy person the whole time. Not really sure. I don't know. I think it'll be okay, though. But here in the warm-up, just wait a second until we have absolute confirmation so we don't sound insane. Okay, I think we got you there, buddy.
Yeah, I think I'm in.
Okay, all right.
I'm plugged in. All right.
Jeez, what a struggle, man. Welcome back.
What a journey. Thanks, chat. Appreciate the love, everybody. Thank you.
It's good to have you back, man. So, DaHanG's up 1-0. Probably not supremely surprising. But have you been watching him play, or did you watch him play like earlier, where he busted out some sick clutch?
Yeah, I was watching Clutch on Blood Covenant. Very good, very good. I love how he's doing the movement and timing it with the shield and coming in hard with the shield and being aggressive. It's just really good play. I'm curious to see how he operates here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he didn't pick a clutch here, but you probably heard me talk about it a little bit on stream how I think like EU's adapted more to that than NA has so far, the use of clutch. But it's good to see like a few people aren't sleeping on it like DaHanG. But here he brought BJ, Nyx, and Galena, which is a pretty like damage-heavy team. Do you think this is like kind of a common / good comp for Blood Run?
Yeah, actually, I really like Nyx and Galena here. Blazkowicz is kind of a nice little tribal jump there. Blazkowicz is kind of, because of his dual wielding, it's just really a question of whether you like it, and because he's not the tankiest of characters, but he can really dish out damage if you do the. Oh my God, that LG! But he's really tanky. I mean, excuse me. He can really dish out damage if you utilize his ability at the right times. If you don't, then he really doesn't shine that much. If you're not getting the most out of his dual wield. Oh my gosh, this guy's getting.
Yeah, no, he's getting, I don't know, handled.
Yeah, very, very much handled. But yeah, I think I like his selection. Usually I would, instead of BJ Blazkowicz, maybe go with something like a Visor or even mix in a tank character. But hey, I'm not going to question DaHanG's choice here. I'm just curious though when the level of competition maybe increases, if you'll go with something different and if he sticks with this lineup or not.
Yeah, I feel like if he was really playing to his fullest, he was playing against somebody that was as good as him or better, and he knew it. I feel like he would be playing clutch here specifically, just because of like how we saw him play earlier and how much stronger it was than say maybe his Nyx here, which I feel like might be one of the weakest champions on this lineup for this map right now.
He's trying to bait him into this.
Oh yeah, he's gonna totem stack him. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if he wants to try to get a totem kill for the final one, or it seems like he's slow playing this guy a little bit, like just kind of really not. I don't know, not too concerned, I guess would be the way I would say it.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's got map control here. He's got heavy armor and mega completely locked down, no questions asked.
Yeah, not much of a. So the guy's not much of a threat right now.
No, but it's entirely possible that he could, I mean, if DaHanG kind of like slept on it a little bit, let Sin, maybe get in a mega or a heavy armor, he could come out of the gate swinging with that BJ dual wield, but he's going to have to really make some plays, especially to get 3 kills in a row against DaHanG right now in round 1.
I guess one of the, he's going to get, one of the things you could do, but he's going to get killed right here. If you're Blazkowicz, I mean, if you're kind of, you could look to kind of basically get him in a bad spot, jumping to heavy armor or whatever, and then if you time the LG, double LG at the right time, you can really dish out damage. But of course, you have to hit the guy, and of course, you need to make sure you're not eating rockets or something in return. So this guy's clearly outmatched. The skill level, you can just see it. I'm watching his, don't do it for the viewers, but I'm watching siNN3dMeNace's point of view here, and he's got a lot to learn. This is in terms of his journey in Quake. So.
Well, honestly, it's like the beauty of this system is that anyone can get it in play. Anyone can go up against the crazy players that we have in the current meta, such as like Rafa and DaHanG would be the two arguably best in NA, or not the two, but they are in the top 4, top 5, what have you. But everyone's got to start somewhere. Everyone's got to start somewhere. Remember that if you're sitting at home, you just got to get in there and play. You really do have to put in the games.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is all part of the process. But yeah, he's. Oh, I'm surprised DaHanG missed that one. But yeah, I can see even as the mouse movements, you can kind of. It's interesting, your experience. You kind of see how unsure or unconfident somebody is. Like they really don't know where he wants to go and why. It's more of a random kind of decision than based on a lot of relevant information.
Yeah, but if you see his movements there, like he hit on the corner, put some damage into DaHanG's back, and then he was able to like wall jump backwards down the hallway, down Mega Hall, and while that's not like mind blowing, it didn't convert into a kill or anything. He's like clearly understands how to move in the game. He, like you're saying though, he just doesn't understand why. He doesn't understand like why you would go maybe towards Rocket there, like go around instead of going Mega Hall. Like why would you avoid that at all costs? Well, reasons like this, and that just comes with games played, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, reading your opponent and all these different routes, it's really complex when you start breaking it down and all the different scenarios that you can encounter during a match. Being ready for those scenarios and being able to act instinctually rather than thinking about it is also critical.
Yep. Sorry. Just trying to crank up the audio there at the end.
Prepare to fight.
And I got punished.
Round begins in 3, 2, 1. Round 3.
All right.
Fight.
Gonna get a little more audio in here for you guys.
It's like DaHanG is lagging a little bit.
Almost.
Oh, you came back.
Yeah, honestly, we've had just all sorts of issues with internet tonight. I don't know if you heard about the problems with Spectrum, but got him point blank on the totem.
Now, honestly though, right there in that scenario, I mean, I know DaHanG might be playing with his food a bit here, but with the way he kind of missed those rockets, if that was somebody else with the lightning gun, somebody more on his level, he could have been in a world of hurt right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the way he like closed the distance instead of trying to maneuver. Yeah, that's definitely like when he lets his guard down. I feel like he was.
But yeah, it just doesn't seem like it's all by the way he's moving. The urgency just doesn't seem to be there. I could tell he's just kind of going through the motions, and he knows he's got this guy easy.
Yeah. So that actually brings up a good question. How deep into this bracket do you think like physical and mental fatigue really start to impact players like DaHanG?
Again, it's up to the opponent too. I think the pressure starts to mount more in the round of 16, and then when you get closer to the regional finals, like obviously the round of 8, for each of these brackets, which turns into top 32, the regional qualifier. So that's when it's going to start getting intense, because the skill level of other players start forcing you into actions that you may not necessarily want to take. So that's where the interesting aspect of Quake can get is when the skill level is relatively equal. It creates a lot of interesting scenarios, because you could have in your mind, oh, I'm going to go this route and I want this item, but then your opponent, because they're also really good or on your level, they make a great play and hit you some shots or take a better route and force you off of something, and it makes you rethink everything you have to do. So it's definitely, I think, round of 16, round of 8, so in terms of how the current brackets are set up.
Gotcha. Yeah,
and it really depends who he plays too, and again, that matters as well. How the bracket luck, if you will, in terms of because sometimes some seeded players can be really, really good. So it just really depends.
Yep.
You win.
Absolutely. As those decisions get harder, and he's got less and less time to make them, I think that's when you really start to see the fatigue, like you were saying. But I think DaHanG's going to make it through to round of 16 pretty handily here after watching him play tonight.
Yeah, I
Doing a good
mean,
job.
he looks really solid. I was watching him earlier on Blood Covenant, as I mentioned earlier, and was watching his clutch play. He's definitely got it down mentally. So execution is always a factor, especially in tournaments when nerves and things like that become an issue. But I would be surprised if he doesn't make it to a regional qualifier, and then from there, I don't know who's going to make it from there. I would imagine that talent's going to be really thick if the top 32 players after this is all done through the four weeks. So no guarantees for anybody there. I would just recommend everybody stays on their toes.
Absolutely, that's a good way to look at it. And I think I would have started to agree with that sentiment after last week, where we saw a lot of incredible matches out of plenty of new names. There's so many new names in this scene, and we're seeing a lot of the old guard here putting up a good fight, some more so than others. But for every, I feel like, veteran, there's 3 or 4 really promising new names out there, and that's in both regions, I think. I'm not sure if you got to watch much the European stuff last week, but I'm sorry, I kind of cut you off there when I was just asking, like, what do you think about that? Do you think it's kind of like that in both regions? We're seeing more new faces than old necessarily stepping up to the highest level?
Well, sure. I mean, that's just the natural state of things. I mean, most of the older Quake players have either moved on to other things or other games, life, obligations, or we're just playing too old and can't do it anymore. So, yeah, it's nice to see new players, taking their shot. Even if they don't make it this year, even for the new players out there that are trying it, you get the experience, you get that tournament experience, you prove your game, you practice duels, and maybe next year you make more noise than you did this year. So I think seeing the new players is important, and I'm happy, even though, for example, this guy just got worked by DaHanG, and he has a lot to learn, but still it's good to see guys willing to take on that challenge, players willing to take on that challenge, because it is a challenge to get good at Quake Duel. I don't care what anybody says. A lot of people who talk is because they've never done it before. And, to get to the top level in Quake Duel is no joke. It's work. You got to work at it, and you got to have the right mentality for it. So I'm glad to see a lot of new players taking on that challenge. That's for sure.
Excellent. Likewise, as someone who maybe hasn't played at the highest levels consistently, I've always enjoyed watching it because it's just like crazy, fast-paced murder chess, kind of. to throw all my eloquence aside, it's just a really good time to watch these 1v1 arena-style shooters, and Quake is the king of them all. It's the best. It's my favorite. It's what I love watching. It's what I go to when I just want that fast-paced, ruthless heads-up match. Now, in Champions, I feel like it's shifted more towards a mental acuity and mental fortitude or resilience, if you will, because the added layer of depth with the new champions and the choices that brings to the game. It's more than just your mechanical ability to, strafe jump, rocket jump, what have you. Now there's this whole new layer of mind games you're playing with champion selection. So do you think that in Quake Champions we've sort of tipped the Quake scales more so into the mental skill set than the physical skill set that you saw in Quake 2 or Quake 3A?
Well, I think it's always had a strong mental aspect, even back in the early iterations of Quake. I think it's always been very mental, and I think the people who have been the best at it have really understood that, and the people who seem to hit their ceiling and can't seem to progress past a certain level always seem to feel like, if only I hit that rail, or if only I hit that rocket, or if only I hit a couple more rails here and there. That's always their reason for losing a match, rather than thinking about the decisions they made and the other aspects of Quake that matter. Champions, I think, is interesting because it does add another layer upon everything, which is, of course, the champion abilities and how that works out. So the thing I like about the champion abilities is because now you have the time. You have to kind of time that as well, right? You have to time. When you get in this next engagement, is that Nyx Ghost Walk up and down? Is that Clutch Shield up or down? So there's another layer to understanding, what state your opponent is in terms of not just their health and armor, but also where their ability is at. And then, of course, you have the hourglasses, which add another thing in terms of running that item. And so now you can change the cooldown on your power up, on your ability and whatnot. So yeah, I think it adds quite a nice layer of complexity on top of a traditional duel. And of course the different armor and HP stacks. There's a lot, the different movement. Definitely a lot involved that you can get into. And I mean, you could sit here, I could theory craft forever. I mean, seriously, there's just a lot of scenarios you could come up with.
Yeah. Would you agree that we might have something better to do right this second, though, since we're starting a draft with Rafa and Roulette?
I'm curious if Rafa busts out Clutch, just to show everybody what he can do. Although Roulette is really good too. Looks like he's been putting in some time. I'd be surprised Clutch. I like Nyx, Anarchy, some faster characters here. Slash is good. Anybody who can get around the map really well on Sarnath I like. And Visor for me. I'd be surprised if one of these guys didn't go with Visor. Somebody to just track their opponent through a relatively large map, even though you can get everywhere quickly.
Absolutely.
Nice. There's Nyx and yeah.
Is this one of like the least played maps at the higher levels, or is it like in the middle of the pack?
I haven't played enough duel at the higher levels to let you know, man.
Okay, cool.
These guys.
So there's the Clutch into a Visor, Ranger Clutch Visor, a man after your own heart.
I mean, I would think at the higher levels, if what I'm thinking is there's no map is off the table. You should be able to play everything. If you're at that level, I mean, what map? When you get into a practice session and somebody asks you what map do you want to play, it should be, whatever. I have no preference. That's always what I used to say. I have no preference. We'll play whatever map you want. I mean, when it comes to practice, that's what you should be saying, because you want to work them all.
Absolutely. You want to get all the experience. You want to see all the scenarios, all the possible draft choices on every possible map, so that you understand everything. And that's kind of what we're doing here on the road to QuakeCon, because this isn't an established game, right? This game's not even really out yet. So we're seeing the meta built. We're seeing the path or the trail blaze before us. And so I'm just really enjoying that aspect of it. I'm really enjoying seeing how the game is changing and then how the players are playing that game as it changes. And I think it's just getting better and better. And by the time we get to QuakeCon, I think we're just going to have a mind-blowingly awesome pool of maps. I think the champion balance is going to be even more on point than it is already. And I'm just really stoked, man. I'm really happy that we've got 2 more weeks of this as well. But round 1, starting off here on Ruins of Sarnath, we're just going to kick it off with Roulette. Actually, I'm going to switch over to Rafa right quick. I want to see how he's doing tonight, see if he's nice and warmed up. We've been watching DaHanG play a little bit. Now it's time to watch. Would you say that Rafa is considered the best player in the game right now, real quick?
Well, I mean,
in North America.
In North America, you got to go with who was the last QuakeCon champion. I mean, so. They used to ask John Madden, every year in the NFL, who do you think the best team in the NFL is right there this year, John? And he'd just say, who won the Super Bowl last year? I think I'm going to go with them. So that's what I'm going to go with. Until proven otherwise, he's the man to beat.
Okay. Well, he's definitely corroborating your theory right now. Really showing us how Ruins is played. Really busting out the stops here on Slash of all champions. I did not expect to see this.
That was a slick rocket jump and rail. He knew his opponent didn't have a railgun, and nice little Hollywood shot. I like it because he had low health. It was nice.
Yeah, he was 2 rails in on the clutch. There's no way mathematically for that clutch to be above 60 or 80. So yeah, he knew he had it. But do you see Slash busted out first pick by anybody really often?
No, typically not. We saw him we saw Slash once last week. Like I mentioned earlier, mobility on Sarnath is really nice. So Slash isn't a bad pick at all. And a lot of people you'll see will go with Anarchy. Anarchy's a very popular pick as well. But Crouch Slide can work to get you around areas of this map relatively quickly.
That's what I'm noticing, and that's I think that's one of the more difficult passives to utilize correctly is the Crouch Slide, because it's not completely intuitive on how it works on some of these maps, just because of the tight corners, narrow spaces. But yeah, once you get it down, it's one of the better movement mechanics just because of its consistency, I think. And Rafa just kind of cruising through rail there, or sorry, not rail. That's where heavy armor spawns here on duel, and he was armorless before that, so he was actually he was actually a little bit behind on the stack. But Roulette, you can see over there, sort of topside mega health, maybe looking over towards like T-bone area. I think just kind of playing it safe. Going into the second round after you just got more or less obliterated by Slash. Yeah, I can totally respect his decision to slow it down. And how do you think... I want to ask, how do you think you should be playing against Sorlag here, but I have a feeling your answer is just going to be, well, you're really playing just against Rafa at this point.
Combo kill.
Yeah, little things, like, for example, Rafa put good pressure there at Mega Health. So that it kind of goes back to before that spawn. The spawn before that, they each grabbed their own item. They were both up at roughly the same time. And Rafa kind of used the fact that Roulette was a little comfortable with the fact that the timers were equal. So, I'm going to just get the Mega again, and Rafa's going to go get the heavy armor. Well, instead, Rafa said, no, I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to go push the Mega for a little bit, and then go get a heavy armor. And just that little mental decision can throw somebody off, because, they're thinking, I'm going to go grab this item for free. It's like, no, you're not grabbing it for free. And I'm going to come over here and challenge. And they think you're going to be waiting for some other heavy armor item to spawn. In reality, no, I'm going to let it sit there. So, because they're making it's that chess match again. It's that mental game. What a great shot!
That was disgusting.
Great shot.
Yeah.
But it's that whole mental approach of okay, well, I think their armor's up. I know the armor's up, so player, my opponent's going to go for that heavy armor, right? Well, if I'm that player, I can say, well, he's going to think that, and because you're going to think that, I'm going to go ambush someone else.
Absolutely. Making your opponent make a decision one way or another can be a very powerful tool in and of itself. And we're seeing it here. Rafa with a little change-ups here and there. He does fall. He does fall to Roulette on that Sorlag, but now he's got the Slash back out. He's looking good, skimming around Ruins up 2. And I don't think this will go another 2 minutes, but that's what's left on the clock. But Roulette's actually doing a pretty good job of defending this Mega position.
Yeah, Rafa was just looking to put some damage on him. He wasn't really looking to actually challenge.
Just cruising around, man. It looks so fun, when you pull off like really good crouch slides. It just, I don't know, it feels good. Like, a lot about this game feels mechanically like satisfactory, I guess. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I enjoy, like I said, all the different champions and movements. I enjoy it very much. I thought Rafa made an error on his death. He kind of rushed into that LG stream. Got kind of ran into one there. So I'm curious to see how he recovers.
It's almost like he miscounted. Like, he miscalculated how much damage he was about to take, or how much damage he could take. Which seems odd, given who he is, but hey, mistakes happen. Anyone can make them.
Interesting move there, too, with Slash.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe this is a champion he's trying to practice more, and that's why we're seeing some of these, I don't know, less, I guess, predictable movements?
Well, I think it would behoove anybody who's trying to get good at Quake Champions Duel to be versatile with their champion picks. So definitely being able to, you don't want to be like, okay, so you play Anarchy, Anarchy's your champion, but then you have to play somebody else, and you're like at 80% of what you can play as Anarchy. You don't want that kind of a drop off. It's you need to be able to play a variety of champions equally well, or at least mostly equally well.
Right, at the very least, you need to understand how they work so you can play against them at the end of the day, right?
It certainly helps with dealing with those champions, how they move and how their abilities operate. Yes, it just makes you a better all around player. There's no reason why you shouldn't have any champion that you should play them all.
Absolutely. There's 9 out right now. I'm pretty excited to see some more. Rafa finishing off that round. Bringing it to 2-0 here on Ruins of Sarnath.
Yeah, he's doing really well. He doesn't seem to be struggling with Roulette at all. I mean, he's just really reading him, and he's, even when he's not getting the items, he's smart about challenging and just putting some damage on him, just so he doesn't get the full benefit of a major item. So Roulette is up against it right now in Sarnath.
Absolutely. Down 2 rounds. But I still think he's got the lineup to take it. Ranger, Visor, Clutch. All he needs to do is sort of connect the pieces here against Rafa's more, we'll say, mobile sort of assassin team. And I think he could just crush one of these rounds in 30, 45 seconds if he gets good spawns.
Yeah, well, it's nothing to do with that engagement. It's fine.
Yeah. I think that was wise of him. It's very difficult to attack into Mega from that hallway in particular.
Yeah, the position he had was certainly not ideal.
Now that's a good place to be. Over in the side, you know, maybe just waiting on a small armor, picking rail shots on Rafa's limited health pool on that Nyx. If he could avoid the counter fire, he'd be in a great spot.
Stopwatch.
You got to be careful in this game when you want to pursue. And even though he landed a rail, and just strafe jumping carelessly and like around corners or into rooms, you just got to be really careful doing that at any time against a top player. Because one, you can eat a rail like he did, or two, you can run into an LG stream, a nice well-placed rocket. Everything, you should always be thinking in a duel. You got to be thinking. You should never be thinking, oh, I got this under control. Look at this nice drop. It's gonna get aggressive here. Yep.
That was good. That lined up with the heavy armor timing too.
He just, rule up, and that's kind of a good example of how an ambush can just turn everything. He came around the corner. Rafa put a nice LG stream on him. Knocked him down in there, and he knew he had him low, so he came in aggressive with some rockets and finished the job, which is. And that's another aspect too about this game, is having the killer instinct to recognize when a frag opportunity is there. It's one thing to pick rails at somebody or rocket here and there, but recognizing when it's good to go all in and get that frag is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. I find that's one of the skills that you master kind of like later in your career. That's one of the higher tier abilities, in my opinion, is to have that level of understanding.
Because you'll see, especially the higher tier players, sometimes they'll make pushes, and they'll have, you'll consider like, wow, why didn't they get, more defensive there? They really pushed, took a risk there, and it's like they're making those risks, those calculated risks. Oh, here we go. Yeah, he's got to see him. It's good. He knew.
It's good that he baited the shield out. So.
Yeah, a little unfortunate on Rafa that he saw the smoke, but.
I feel like it was just so he could do something like that. Just corner him, no shield, just take the damage to him. Like you said, killer instinct. I think Rafa just knew he was ahead there. Yeah,
no, Rafa's really great at recognizing, just all the things that kind of mentioned in terms of keeping track of player movement, player stack, the item spawns. He's really got the fundamentals of this game down, and then some. Not to mention far more than just the fundamentals.
Oh yeah. I'm very, very anxious to see who else comes out here in Quake Champions. What other players do we see really contest him? Hopefully surpass him. It's inevitable.
Even the way he approached Mega there, you see the way. I mean, that was just a good approach. He used his Ghost Walk. If Rulef was there and decided to challenge for that Mega, he was toast. I mean, it was a good exploratory Ghost Walk. Oh, nice railing though by Rulef.
Yep. So I was saying earlier, man, this like really kind of lightweight lineup, not a huge pool until you get over to Sorlag, of course. All he needs to do is lock down some solid rockets or rails, and I think he could really potentially take this third round, man. He just needs to be very, very careful, just very calculated, and start to understand what Rafa's doing.
Well, he's got to get a rush on it now.
Oh yeah, this was a good opportunity, but those missed rockets I think are going to come up on him. That's still good though. That's better than good. This is probably going to keep him in this.
Yeah, that was a good switch to LG there. So now we got an interesting game on our.
Yes, we do. Rafa on that slash, moving around the map, seeming almost fed up with the way he's moving right now. 15 seconds till we go into sudden death, but it's tied up anyway, so
he's fully stacked now, so he can be looking to apply pressure. The thing is, he's got to recognize the Rafa's going to be smart. You got to be careful of some of these major areas. He's going to be looking to snipe at you and just kind of get that stack down.
So I would say
this is a mistake
mathematically by Rafa.
Ruleth was late getting down there. It's a bit of an error on his part.
Yep, and I think I just heard his ability, so he's got a few seconds where he can really start to corner Rafa, who counters with an ability of his own, gets through the portal up to Mega. And Ruth, I think, was in a much more advantageous position even 15 seconds ago than he is now.
Oh, you should get the kill here. Oh, great
Oh, wow.
recovery by Rafa.
Yep, hits the rail, pushes him off the ledge, gives him an opportunity to get away. Good read, but Ruleth was ready.
Yeah, good way to come down and meet him at heavy armor. Nice rail, nice shot. Shane, Rafa kind of
Round begins.
got away with one. I thought he was going to die there at the Mega Health fight because Ruleth was coming in hard and put some damage on him. So he kind of bailed himself out with that rail, but Ruleth kept the pressure coming at the heavy armor and got the kill. So here we go. Maybe this is where the comeback starts.
Yeah, they all start somewhere. And I dare say Ruleth's looking a lot more comfortable than he was in round one. That first round versus Slash was a little rough. So I think he's in a much better position now. Although you're starting to see Rafa's movements get a little bit tighter here at the start of this round. I think he's maybe starting to turn the concentration up a little bit.
Just for the Ruleth, try not to think about your opponent too much. I mean, just play your game. Try to play within yourself. And try, don't. I mean, I know it's hard, but don't get intimidated.
Yeah, that's another big thing about this game. It's not just your ability to force decisions by your opponent, but it's also your ability to live with the decisions your opponent's forcing you to make. It's not getting stressed out or frightened, or startled in a situation.
Yeah, confidence certainly has something to do with that. How you handle those situations, which only comes again, experience and getting those games in, and where you feel confident that when you get in certain scenarios, you're going to come out the victor.
Absolutely.
So, and I see it sometimes in these matches. Players will have maybe somebody more experienced or a bigger name, or some kind of pro player in a position where they could push, and they'll back off. Maybe giving them a little too much respect.
Yeah, do you think that's a mistake that's really too easy to make, is to just naturally, you'll have Rafa say on 20 or 30 health, but you're looking at him like he's this unstoppable Quake god, so you're approaching him, he's like he's fully stacked every time. You think that's a really common mistake when a lower tier player has to go up against a higher tier player?
Yeah, I think it's fairly common because lower tier players don't keep track of enemy stacks very well. So I think it's kind of a common thing where learning how to finish, like I mentioned earlier, is important in this game. Recognizing the frag opportunity. Ruleth's in a bad spot. He should not have been there. I mean, low health. I know the Mega Health was coming up, but unless you're going to be there and it's popping right that second, that's just not a good area to be in.
And I feel like Clutch, with the way his movement is after the most recent patch, I feel like he definitely didn't have to be in the middle of that platform. He could have set himself up to jump through there at 600 units or something on the spawn instead of being a big obvious target.
Yeah, his movement upgrade. I'd say that his movement upgrade, because he's a robot, so that naturally was an upgrade. It's been really good for Clutch. Oh shit, he's got him cornered here.
Yeah, this is a pretty rough spot to be in.
This is kill zone. You don't let him out of here.
Yeah. Nope.
You win.
Nope, he decided that was the time to end this Ruins duel on round number 4. Rafa looking pretty good.
Looking strong. Like I said, Ruleth, you could tell how he plays. He's a solid player, and Rafa just took him apart.
Absolutely. But I think he's got potential. He's not so far gone that there's no contest. I think maybe on a different map, different day, he could take a game off of him. So we'll have to see what the second map is. Could make all the difference. If you were Ruleth, if you had just played against Rafa and you saw that, you started off getting kind of demolished by Slash, and then you saw more of a, I guess, standard duel style of play after that to beat you, what map would you most want to play right now?
That's a tough question. I mean, it really, you just got to go with whatever your strength is, and not like mentioned, you can't worry about that you're playing Rafa and think, oh, he's going to be good at this map, he's going to be good at that map. You just got to think, what's your best map, and go for it. And you can't really think about all that other stuff.
Gotcha. Do you think Blood Run? I agree with Blood Run because I was talking about Clutch on Blood Run earlier. The tight spaces, how you can do that shield rush, and it's extremely effective. I think this is a really good map for his lineup, assuming Rafa were going to play the same lineup again.
I like clutch on Blood Run, definitely, because there's a lot of armor and you know with the mega health, and you can really build his stack up, and with the new this new movement, he can really hit some areas and change elevation, especially in the tri-bolt shotgun area. So I'm curious. Galena, I really like the Galena pick by Rafa.
Oh yeah.
The portals here are really good plays for the totems. Even going into the portals, I really like in certain corners and stuff that people come around, because you're trying to get around the map quickly. It's just a lot of opportunities for Galena play on this map. I expect to see it more pretty common on Blood Run.
Yeah, I mean the one that comes to mind is the portal to heavy armor. You're going to be blowing through that portal as fast as you can, depending, but most of the time you are, and you're going to just walk into a face full of totem if you're not careful.
Yeah, and even putting it before in the blood pool before you go into that portal, because people come around that corner really fast, because they're trying to get to the heavy armor. That's what they're thinking about, and it's easy to just run right into that totem.
Yeah, that is a pretty rough little blind corner. Come in, it's like past rail, basically under where he is now. Yeah, I haven't seen. I don't think I've seen Galena be as impactful on other maps as I have like this one, honestly.
I think she's fairly effective on Corrupted Keep as well. It has some, the LG portal, and it's a smaller map, so when people make these pushes, because it's all LG and RL, you get an RL fight, it's kind of nice. You can throw down a totem right at their feet. So I think we haven't seen the last of Galena. I'm like, as things progress over these months, I'm curious to see how inventive people get with all these abilities and different champions.
Oh yeah, there's gonna be balance tweaks here and there. There's gonna be potentially new champions in the nearly foreseeable future. It's only gonna get better from here, I think. It's already pretty darn good, so that bodes well for us by the time we hit QuakeCon. This is interesting right here. What, Rafa waiting all that time for armor, or do you think that's part of a little mind game?
It's early on. You're just trying to, get your stack, and you don't want to do anything foolish in this very first engagement. This first engagement's huge, because you both kind of start off with something. So both of them kind of run around and got their arsenal. Who can set themselves up to really get control of both major items, because somebody's going to lose this engagement, is going to have to run for the light armors and stuff in the back while somebody else gets control. So it's going to be a rough push here. This shouldn't do this. Oh, yeah. I'm surprised Rafa didn't have a rocket out right there. Oh,
jeez, just by the most narrow of margins there. So I like Anarchy plays here just because of how well he can skirmish and how well he can pop you off power-ups with rockets and then get away. But you're right, I'm really surprised that there wasn't a rocket waiting for him coming around that corner in a mega. Could have easily finished there, but a shotgun to the face is just as good.
Wonderful shotgun by Shane. And again, Ruleth kind of coming around a corner carelessly right into his opponent. Obviously, right, if he knew Rafa was there, the shotgun doesn't come around like that. So that's poor tracking on his part.
Yeah. I think it almost comes back to like the very beginning where he's sitting up here waiting for armor. I feel like he's such a good player, Rafa, that he's sort of setting you up for these moves, minutes ahead of time. And it really felt like he was always pushing Ruleth into taking that side stair to rocket, that sort of shortcut where Rafa hadn't been yet, but then he was waiting in a perfect position at the right time. I think that's one of his biggest strengths, is the way he plays. The like colder zones in a map if you were using heat maps.
Nice recognition. Ran into his totem, so he knew. Excellent play by Rafa. And so slick. I love watching this guy play.
And it makes it all look so easy.
A lot of these guys do. It's easy to watch some of the movement and the shots and think, oh, that looks easy. Some of these guys bridge the rail with the Anarchy, and they just zip over there, and that looks like no problem. It's easy. It's easy if you're experienced with Quake and that kind of movement. It's easy.
So, by the way, that drop-down shield usage by Ruleth to kind of scout down Mega Hall, do you think that's necessarily like good, efficient use of shields?
No. The shield is best to get in their face, preferably with the rocket launcher. you want to meet them around the corner. You want to be in their face with the stack, turn on that shield, and you just get in an RL battle, and that's a wrap. It really is. So, I don't think it's an exploratory kind of ability. I think it's something you need to use to win a fight. And I mean, if you're using it defensively or something to run away, I mean, it's just you're not getting benefit out of it. I would say only use it in those scenarios if you think it's going to save your life or really, or save control somehow where you're not going to use a bunch of stack. But
Right, and that's of course, we're only talking about duel here. In sacrifice, this becomes a whole completely different conversation potentially. So
nice LG by got launched in the air, but he still was able to track the LG. Just a sign of he's been working and practicing. That's consistency right there.
yeah, it was really disciplined. Like you said, even getting popped in the air, where a lot of players will have a full second or 2 seconds where they completely lose tracking, he kept it on nice and smooth. You can tell he's been at this pretty hard the past few weeks. Busting out the Ranger first time. I like that. Going into the second round, changing it up a little bit. And Dire Orb's so good here.
Now, Ruleth made a little error there. He got kind of goaded into a fight. And I mentioned the last time, I think it might have been with Jahar last week, but going on those platforms, tri-bolt or shotgun, and not having a lightning gun is very, very dangerous because it is a good LG lineup point, and he paid for that. Yeah, with the lightning gun.
Absolutely, and that was one of the initial engagements, which, like you said, are extremely important in a duel. Man.
Good shooting by Ruleth.
Yeah, he's really keeping his calm. But even when he knows just one good rail or rocket and his stack evaporates and he's suddenly one shot to almost anything. And if he's not careful.
It's the one thing I don't like, or one of the things I don't like about Anarchy, especially in a map like this. You see how limited he is with this stack. So Blood Run, in my opinion, there are a lot of corners and situations where you're going to be flying around the map and using rockets. And I just don't feel a lighter character who, Nyx on one hand has Ghost Walk, so you can choose your engagement a little bit. But Anarchy, they fly. Typically, an Anarchy player is going to fly around the map really fast and come around those corners, blazing 100 miles per hour, and you don't really have the time to react. If you get hit with one good rocket, you're in hurting really critical shape.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you can't take 2 direct rockets as Anarchy. It's just not in the cards. And Rafa pushing Ruleth back a little bit. Ruleth coming out with that clutch second champ. Wow, this is... Man,
He
this
knows
is
as well. It's
yeah,
really aggressive there.
Yeah, it comes back to that spacing, like you were saying. Not having a lightning gun at that space, or at that range, you just get punished. Ooh.
Shane, Rafa getting a little cheeky there with the gauntlet.
Yep, bounced it off. Took way more damage than he needed to in that fight, but he looked good doing it, so I guess it was worth it. He's dangerously low, and well, I guess Ruleth's actually pretty low too. I thought he was a little bit more stacked, and I was gonna ask, like, why isn't he attacking? Well, that's because he's almost dead. And he's just eyeballing that heavy.
I really like Nyx here to choose your engagements. If you can read your opponent right, you come around with a blind ghost walk, meaning they can't see the mist from you disappearing. You can really light somebody up. And I favor, again, starting with a rocket ambush, because you can really get that first.
Yep, instantly bust out the rocket launcher, kind of correcting his mistake from earlier where he didn't have it out at close quarters.
Yeah, it's really tough. Like, Ruleth is up against it with Rafa. Rafa's really sharp with the rockets, and Ruleth kind of, in my opinion, he's got to be a little careful more careful when he doesn't have control, and and the way he's kind of making he's trying to get around the map so quick sometimes. I think that he's not taking care in terms of tracking where his opponent is while he's doing it, and Rafa's lighting him up with some well-timed ambushes here and there, or he's just coming around the corner and he's just not ready to see him in his face.
Yeah, I will say Rafa seems more patient. It seems like he takes his time at certain points in a duel. You know, he'll take 2 or 3 seconds where he just seems to slow it down, really think and consider his position, his opponent's probable position and stack. And I think that's a huge difference between these two players. Something really setting them apart is that discipline that Rafa has. And that sort of the player of that level, you know, that's just what it takes. He's really showing it off. He's not slacking off. He's not taking it easy. Nope, he's playing like really smooth, calculated Quake right now. I think Roulette's going to have a nearly impossible time killing a Rafa clutch with an Anarchy, you know?
Do it right here. He died at the same time. That's
Curse.
Again, there's that minimal stack. So come flying around the corner, you know, getting in an RL battle and you're an Anarchy. It's just, it's not ideal. It's definitely not ideal.
Well, I'm glad he got a kill out of it. I'm glad he was able to trade, because otherwise, you know, that puts you in a pretty bad spot for this round, losing your Anarchy for nothing. Kind of sad Rafa gave up on the totem dream. And he knows, you know, he heard the clutch up top. He knows he can take his time. Grab the Mega right there. Easy read towards Rocket. And yeah, he should be able to pressure Roulette here in the next like 5 or 10 seconds and convert this into a kill if he just controls it like he is.
Yeah, he's definitely wearing him down. He's going to take this next couple spawns. If he's knowing him, he'll probably play it a little safe and he'll come fight with this Mega. If Roulette is foolish enough to be down there, this is definitely a frag opportunity for Rafa. He's going to go for that Mega.
He didn't even peek it, so he wasn't worried, but he knows he's going to be back down there in a second. He spots Roulette up top, which is, ooh, that's really risky. Would have liked to see a rail in the back and then Roulette getting out of dodge there.
Good timing by Roulette. Good steal.
Oh yeah. Oh, taking too much damage without that shield up though.
Nice finish by Rafa. LG, you know, kind of got him out in the open after the little bit of the rocket fight there, and you don't want to be in an LG battle without with the clutch.
Yeah, no,
he
like
really is
miss,
the size
right?
of a house.
Yeah. Yep, he is 2 or 3 Galenas taped together. It's pretty crazy.
Wonderful timing there.
Yeah, we're definitely a little bit later in this round. Ooh.
That dire orb might have almost cost him. Good
Yep.
finish with the shotgun. Yeah, the dire orb, you know, has a little bit of a reload timer too as well for people who don't know. So you throw that dire orb, you can't weapon switch right away. You have to wait about a second or so, and then you can actually switch. So you got to be careful sometimes throwing that in close combat because you can't shoot or go to rockets at the same time. But solid win by Rafa. Not surprised. I mean, granted, props to Roulette for giving his best shot. You know, he's really up against it. I mean, this is somebody with a lot of tournament experience, somebody who knows how to win. So, you know, good job. And Rafa's obviously ready to play.
Absolutely. I mean, Roulette actually took a round off in Mount Ruins, so, you know, huge props to him. I think he's definitely in the right spot to be in this qualifier. And, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him qualify in the 3rd or 4th week. Just a little more practice, play like that. You know, you could definitely make it to top 32 and then potentially even the top 12 from NA. So hope to see more of him. But I think for the time being, we're going to kick it over to a break while we get our second match lined up. Stick with us, guys. This is week 2, day 1 of North American QWC online qualifiers. I am Luke Bodenheimer, and joining me is Victor Quadra, better known as Machiavelli, and we will be right back in just a few moments with your next match.